This is my practice video for getting over a toxic relationship. I have been binge watching narcissistic abuse. Wasn't sure if I was the narcissist or my girlfriend. I certainly have shown narcissistic tendencies, but am able to realize some of the mistakes that I have made and know better to continue on with that type of behavior. But the relationship I'm gotten out of has absolutely been the most devastating relationship I've ever been in. I've been getting out of it longer than I was in it. I think one of the biggest problems is that she stole $66,000 of my money. Because at the beginning of the relationship, and I had known this person my entire life, but had only dated her for 6 or 7 months, but she was very attractive, and when we had finally got together after 6 years of me pursuing her, I guess you could say, off Facebook, sending her little messages from time to time and basically getting crickets back out of it, that once I had posted I was coming back to Texas to possibly repossess my house I had owner financed, and I had attempted to call her to sell my house and got crickets on that as well, but I had posted that I was coming back to repossess the house, and then oddly enough she had contacted me and we get together. First night, I spend the night at her house. We have sex. But we continued to hang out, and she just started love bombing me. Everything I liked, she liked, and we just became peas and carrots. And she assisted me in resolving the issue with my house. And by this time, I had fallen in love with her and trusted her and had asked her to deposit money into my mother's account. My account was overdrawn, so it was going to take 10 days to get the money. She had informed me that the Chase banks required another Chase member to deposit money into an account, so I had asked her to deposit the money into my mother's account. She agreed to do that. I had handed her my mother's information, and she filled out a deposit slip and handed the check to the teller, hands me the deposit slip. Prior to this, the day before, she had told me she had enough money to put into her own account, that she had enough money in her account that she could cash the check and I should deposit it into her account. And I didn't think that was a good idea, but I trusted her enough to deposit it into my mother's account, which 2 days after she had given the bank teller the check, I find out that she did not do that and deposited it into her account. I don't freak out at this point because of her excuse that she had made a mistake, but then she starts claiming that I owed her money from the times that she and I were together and I didn't have any money. She has never been able to come up with a total on what I owed her other than a lot, and I told her that that would be hard to write a check for because she'd be more specific. And from that point, from us being peas and carrots, it was vinegar and water, and the fights began. She started accusing me of cheating, wanted to search my phone, which I handed it to her, and I asked to do the same with hers, and she said fuck no and jerked back. I thought that was a red flag, but at this point I still trusted her, and needless to say, it progressed. The fights became more frequent over the most ridiculous things, accusing me of wanting to have sex or having sex with people that would not even be a maybe for me. Quite insulting, actually. And uh, just various little things that she started to do that really started raising my attention to something was really going on here, and the fights just became more frequent, and I would engage in those fights and begin to say mean and evil, cruel shit to her, which from what I gather is kind of their game. But it has been 9 or 10 months now. She has never once given me a set of bank statements that are correct. She refuses to do that. Never resolves one issue, and will continue to bring up the things that I have done in reaction to her reluctancy and refusal to resolve my money issue. I live in Arizona, and she is back in Texas. She had moved out here with me, thinking that everything was going to be wonderful, but it has just progressively gotten worse. After binge watching multiple narcissistic abuse channels, I decided I'd start to do this. And I'm sure there's other people out there that have probably experienced this very same thing that I have. And, the constant catching her lying, she would begin the relationship asking me about girls that she saw pictures of me with on Facebook, and I would tell her straight up what the relationship was. If I've had sex with a girl, I'll tell you, and if I haven't, I'll tell you why I haven't. If the girl didn't dig me, she didn't dig me, and we didn't have sex. But when it got to the point where, it just became redundant of, asking me the same questions about girls and, what my relationship was, and since I had been following her for several years on Facebook, had noticed that, one of the people that appeared that they were having a relationship, she was having a relationship with, I asked her about that, and she totally denied it, and calling him names, and he was weird, and I was making reference to specific pictures that I had seen of them, and she was totally denying it, to the point where I was like, well, I'll just contact the guy, because I know, I kind of know who the guy is, and so I did. And he certainly confirmed that they had a relationship, and confirmed what my lying eyes had been telling me. And when I told her that I had contacted this guy, she just got infuriated and wondered why I would do that. And I told her just because, I knew what I'd seen. I have a photographic memory, and I know what I saw. And, why you would lie about something that makes no difference to me whatsoever. I don't care if you had sex with the entire NFL the day before I met you. That's not my business. But when you would ask me about my relationships, and I would tell you straight up, and then you start denying things that I'd been paying attention to over the course of several years, that, I just wanted to get to the truth and why you would lie about something like that. And but that was just one of two different fellas that I had contacted because of her constant questioning, and so I would turn it around and ask her the same types of questions that she would start to deny. And I just am the person who wants to know the truth, don't want to wonder. But so those were where I first started noticing some real serious signs here, and then it just got to be worse, where the constant accusing me of doing things that I wasn't doing, and just, and it would get to be very hateful, and I'm a reactionary kind of a guy. I would say some mean, evil stuff. I mean, some crappy stuff. And there was even an incident where we would fight, and one of her friends came out here to rescue her or whatever, and was gonna take her back to Texas, and needless to say that the two of them could not make a trip from Arizona to Texas, and she got dumped off in Albuquerque Called me up, contacted me, told her what the situation was. I was already back in Texas, and told her if she could get herself to Vega, Texas, that I would come pick her up where my nephew lives. So I drive 7 hours to go get her, show up there, and you can tell that she's distraught in a hotel room. My nephew and his wife and Mary and I all go out to dinner, and she's tired, but I want to spend a little time with my nephew. I don't see him much. So I go out, spend a couple of hours with him, get back to the hotel. She's asleep with her phone playing some music. I get in bed, go to sleep. A few hours later, woken up to somebody over the top of me calling me an asshole and fucking yelling at me, and I can't believe what's going on. I kind of roll over thinking that I'm dreaming, and I wake up the next morning, and the first words out of her mouth is that I need to work on not being an asshole. And because she couldn't find the remote to the TV, and I'm thinking, well, it couldn't be any further than the width of my arms outstretched, but you had to wake me up and call me an asshole. And so on the drive back home, we continue to fight, and nothing to her matters. She would continue to say, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter, to the point where it just drives me crazy. And I said I was going to drive the car into a bridge onto her side. Just absolutely, I'm going insane over this. And needless to say, when we get back to Dallas, I drop her off at a hotel, and I go over to my mother's house, and I won't answer her calls and stuff. And less than 24 hours later, she has flown back to Flagstaff. And we're talking from Dallas to Flagstaff. It's like an $800 flight. And she claims that she's coming back to the trailer because she wants to clean it up because it was a mess when she left. But at this point, I don't want her in my trailer anymore and tell her to get out. So she spends 2 weeks in a hotel claiming that she's all sick, which I genuinely believe that she's probably back to see somebody else. And her car is here, but she pays to have the car shipped back, doesn't drive the car, flies back from Flagstaff to Dallas, another $800 flight, claiming that I'm responsible to pay for all this. And anyway, this is kind of just several of the little incidents. There's just a couple of the incidences that have happened, and they get worse. And the continual lying, and but never, not once, has she ever wanted to go over my money. She will bring up things that I have said and done, and I have said things to intentionally try to hurt her feelings or make her jealous or things like that. Even actually had taken some rings that apparently meant so much to her that her deceased mother had given her to try to get leverage. I knew that these rings meant a lot to her because there was one day she had left one of them in my bathroom, and I put it in my robe pocket. And once I showed it to her that I had the thing, she literally attacked me to try to get it. So when I found these things where she was staying one night, I had taken them and to try to get leverage to get my money back. She called the police. She did, and she has since got her rings back, but never once has she done the bank statements or go over my money. Being stupid enough to continue to keep wanting to see her because the sex was really good. She has, before she left Flagstaff on this trip where I picked her up in Vega, she literally had called the Flagstaff police once I had left and made assault charges on me, which I've never laid a hand on her. Had to get through that. Stupid enough. I find that out when this was before Thanksgiving, where she had invited me to come fuck her hard at a hotel that her ex-husband was paying for, and I go over there and oblige her of that. But then the next morning I wake up and somebody from the place where I'm staying has called and said the police were looking for me, and at that point, when she finds that out, she throws me out of that hotel, says she's going to call the cops on me there. And then in Addison, Texas, she invites me over there to hang out with her. She'd shoot some methamphetamine up her own butt, and freaks out on me and tells me to get the fuck out. She's got somebody downstairs waiting for her, which I wonder who that was. But then she calls the police and said that I sexually assaulted her, and also that I stole stuff from her, which are all lies. All those charges have been dropped, but these are some of the things that I have had to deal with going through narcissistic abuse, which she turns it around and says that I'm the narc, which, you know, well, I hope I'm not, but that's why I was making this video, just see if anybody's ever experienced anything like this. I'm sure you have, because their videos are just covered up on YouTube about this. But anyway, my name's Tim Lee, and I am out.